Why are narcissists attracted to liberalism, which leads to leftism? Well, to start off, I'm going to read this quote from Alexander Lowen in his book Narcissism. He's describing a time he had with a patient who was narcissistic and sought to control his girlfriend. What he called, talking about the patient here, what he called, quote, doing good for others, represented an exercise of power over them, which, despite his good intentions, verged on the diabolical. Under the guise of doing good, for instance, Eric exploited his girlfriend. He got her to love him without any loving response on his part. Such exploitiveness is common to all narcissistic personalities. Well, what's the bread and butter of the modern liberal, which has turned into the leftist? And bread and butter is their projected virtuosity. But it's not virtuous at all. It's a control maneuver. It's a control tactic. And they actually don't have any virtuosity at all. It's an inflated false sense of self. Not even self. It's an inflated false image that they want for themselves, and they project it onto other people. When you look at what they actually do, there's nothing virtuous about it. It's just all talk. And this inflated sense of virtue is a mask for something deep within their subconscious that they know that they're lacking, they don't want to bring to the forefront, that they don't want people to see. So they kind of spackle over it this virtuosity, which is completely synthetic on its face. So this means that they don't accept themselves. And if they don't accept themselves, they don't accept other people. And when you don't accept other people, you completely disregard their feelings. You don't even see them as people. You see them as a label. You see them as anything associated with them. And since that association challenges their virtuosity, their whole identity, their whole being, their whole investment, they lash out. So when you try to argue with the liberal, this is why you can't argue with them, because they don't play on the realm of facts. It's an assault on their image. It's assault on their persona. And that's why they keep getting more deranged, telling people, saying that their opponents deny global warming, which means they deny science, while saying you can be whatever gender you want, which in of itself is an inflated false sense of self. When you try to be another gender, is completely denying reality, an inflated false sense of self. But they're often the type to do good for others in order just to control them. And this is really important because all of the tyrannical regimes in history or ideologies have all used this virtue. It seems to be virtue that they project, but their actions are the opposite. From the Roman Catholic Church to Hitler, he used virtue to push his agenda, to Bolshevism, which led to the Soviet Union, which was like 10 times worse than Hitler on the death scale. It was more economical to starve people out than to, haul them and send them to the concentration camps. And when they hauled people to camps in the Soviet Union, they were labor camps. And they just died, they just were dropping left and right, malnourished, barefoot in the Siberia, and it just the worst conditions that you can even imagine. And just being disappeared overnight. They come take it. Oh, we're just gonna go ask you a couple questions. Okay, they won't be seen again. All in the name of virtuosity. And the organic liberal is, for the most part, a virtuous person. They want to do good. They're smart. They want to figure stuff out. They want to find out what's ailing society, and they want to find better solutions. And they generally don't have grudges. And if they do have grudges, they don't necessarily see it as they've been subverted to see it, which is turning into leftism, but they don't necessarily see it as a specific group of people. The organic liberal will see it as something in the mind. And they're right, too. And then they'll in sense, they're nice, the organic liberals, since they do have an open heart, since they do have empathy. Their kindness is mistaken for weakness. And that is why you've seen the violent, brainwashed people of society get attracted to leftism, because they don't understand the concept of an individual. They only see groups. They only see associations with other people and themselves. They try to push. Here's their Uncle Tommy. Here's their racism that's in leftism, is that they only recognize black people for their skin color. They don't see them as individuals. And then you got a lot of black people out there, which is mostly the criminal element of them. Again, I'm not saying that all black people are criminals. That's just that's dumb. I mean, you got the most human, genuine, smart people. They're just witty and just genuine human beings are black people, and they have better DNA than white people. That's come out too. They got a more pure DNA, human DNA. But you got the criminal element of black people that only see themselves as black people. And so here you have a perfect marriage between associating other people by just their skin color. So that's their whole being. That's it. That's their whole identity, is their skin color. And you have these people who only identify themselves by their skin color, which makes a perfect marriage for social engineering and creating movements that are based off of grievances and justice. And as we've seen throughout history, all injustices societally lead to more violence and more injustice. And that's exactly the plan for the United States. So, since these narcissists, narcissistic liberals, which are the leftists, don't play on the battlefield of facts and intellect and wits and curiosity and listening and being a more informed person, or just being an individual with curiosity that wants to choose their own path, sees a problem and wants to approach it from their own perspective. Since they don't do that, and if you come at them with a refuting point to theirs, since it's not met with, okay, I see what you're saying, blah, blah, blah. Okay, thanks for enlightening me on any given fact. Just say, like, if a liberal comes out and says the Indian Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world, and then somebody says, I don't mean liberal, but a narcissist comes out and says, oh, that dog barks all the time, and it's just there's no cadence to it. Whatever, dogs bark. But if a narcissist comes out and says the Indian Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world, and then somebody refutes that and be like, nah, I don't think so. I think it's the Pacific Ocean. The narcissist will either say, who are you to tell me? I looked this up. Are you calling me stupid? And just get totally defensive about it. Or they'll play the victim and be like, why would you tell me something like that? I'm just trying to tell you a fact. I'm just trying to be nice. I'm just trying to enlighten you. And then I'm the bad guy and this and that. And oh man, I just can't win, and just give you a total pity party because you refuted their point. When it should have been met with, okay, well, what makes you say that? Even if they still, whoever says the Indian Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world, and if someone else makes a countering claim saying the Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world, a natural response would be like, okay, well, can you back that up? How is it? I mean, well, here's a map. Here's the Indian Ocean. Here's Pacific. Oh, well, thanks for enlightening me. I appreciate that. My mind has now been changed. So there's no intellectual battleground here, because it's like they're not on that battlefield, so you can't change their minds, and you're not going to solve this political problem these days. And it's just, you're not going to solve it without acknowledging the mental problems going on here, of pretty much specifically narcissism. And I think to one degree or another, we are all got a narcissistic self, because I mean, every individual out there is the center of the universe. There's no, because we are the center of the consciousness that perceives the universe. It can't be other. There is no center of the universe other than yourself, any living thing. So there is that sense of narcissism there. But when it's there because it has been repressed when it's been repressed and taken over by an image of how you want the public to perceive you, and then that false image is then defended, that's when you start to get pathological. And that is what we're seeing with the leftists. They're not actually virtuous people. And there's no such thing as just a virtuous person. It's just somebody capable of virtuous acts. Like you always see stories of somebody who does something heroic, and then they get interviewed. How does it feel to be a hero? It's like, I'm not a hero. I mean, this guy was choking over here. I'm not just going to let him choke. I gave him the Heimlich maneuver. I mean, what would you do? Well, you are a hero. That guy had a family. Well, I didn't know that. I just saw him choking. What do you mean? Whereas the virtue signaler, the narcissist, the leftist, will do anything to create a facade that they're good. They'll give to donations, which often they don't. Or they'll just say things that make them sound virtuous. Like David Hogg, for example. He always comes out and says something like how he cares so much. But he doesn't actually, he just gets up and talks and makes money. That's it. He's not actually doing much. He just campaigns. And you can tell that it's a total lack of something else within him, because he's just so scrawny. There's no power behind him. He's just this scrawny little kid who just goes around saying shit. So the liberals we see who've turned into leftists are a bunch of people who have created the image of virtuosity within themselves in order to control other people. I'm the virtuous one. Since I'm the virtuous one, do what I say because I'm virtuous. Well, you're not that virtuous. I hate you. You hate me. You hate everybody. You're a Nazi. Even though the Nazis were leftists, National Socialists. So, thanks for watching the video today. I got more to come. And InstinctReport.com's website. Check it out. Spread the articles in this age of censorship. Any voice out there counts. Any voice does. And we have to address the source of these problems of society, which is a pathological thing, not a political thing. It transcends into a political thing. But before that, it's pathological. And it's not going to be done by social workers and psychologists through the university system. And that's another thing I want to address here. The university system, which contributes to the narcissistic society that we live in. Because in order to get a decent job, you got to have the college degree. Well, what is a college degree? It's a recognition. It's an approval from the university you went to, the institution. So when you get hired, oh, you went to so-and-so college, you got a degree from there, you got their approval, you're hired. They're not hiring you, they're hiring the university. See how that is there? And having a college degree is no border between smart and dumb whatsoever. I have a relative that's got a college degree, has a 6-figure job, and she doesn't know the difference between there, and there. Like, that's their car. They are cool. You know, those ones. And that is... So the university system is no measure of intellect. It could be, but often it's given people a uniformed approach to problems, as opposed to an individual approaching the problems themselves and using their own effort through their will in order to solve it. And that's where real progress is, because ever since the human story has been the liberation of the individual from this tyranny or that tyranny, whether it be religious, whether it be socialism, whatever, whether it just be socialism or just a bloated nationalism. I mean, we're so collectivist right now. We have to go back to having a nationalism. That's how bad it is. Because I'm not even like a nationalist type, but I mean, it's easy to say when you're from America. Because we have the ability to say we don't like this country. But we have to go, this collectivist mentality is so bad that we have to revert back to nationalism. But I don't think, there are some things to be careful about when it comes to nationalism, but it's better than what we got now, and at least from there we'll have another beachhead in order to bring actual progressivism from organic true liberals. And the political cycle starts again of, conservative and progressives. But since progressives have had their kindness taken for weakness, the narcissists have usurped that in order to control. Just like how they've done in every other culture, especially the Soviet Union, which is some of the worst human stories that you ever hear in your life. I mean, you think the Nazis were bad? They got nothing on the Soviets. Nothing. That's what I got for you today. Alex Hodel, InstinctReport.com. Again, share the video. Age of Censorship. Come out with your own videos. Put in some serious effort into this. Come to these problems from your own perspective of society. And my recommendation is to come at it through the pathological. Read up on anything about psychology or just sociology that you can, because if you're going to get it from the school, they're going to give you their version of it. And then you're going to get the victimology. And then you'll be let out into the system as on the winning team. So, that's what I got. InstinctReport.com. Thanks for joining me.